They want to eliminate what they call the deep state. The deep state is a cadre of professionals dedicated to honoring the Constitution, the laws of this country, and carrying out the policies of the Congress and the President. The deep state dedicated to carrying out the policies of the President. The deep state dedicated to carrying out the policies of the President.
Good golly, everyone. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. If you're not here, you're nowhere. Well, actually, if you're not here, you're at the mercy of the mainstream media. If you're not here looking for your own information, you're subject to everyone else's brainwashing. Because what I'll do is I'll share information with you, but you get to decide for yourself. I won't tell you you're stupid if you don't listen. I don't know. Maybe how this all ends is going to show us who is stupid, who is not, who is brave, who is not, who is patriotic, and who is not. So let's get into it. Get your questions down below. We've got Uman moderating, swinging the big blue wrench, and working behind the scenes. I'm going to be in front of the camera here at the Prepared Mind studio. I want to thank Mr. T for the great graphics, intros, outros, everything else. And where do we start? I mean, literally, where do we begin today? Let's do this. Let's have some fun. Let's take a wild guess. Well, a multiple winning World Cup medalist, a super athlete from the world of rowing. Well, this guy is 35 years old, super athlete. Take a wild guess. He died suddenly, unexpectedly, without warning, dead. Yep, folks, yet again, another super makes you wonder, right? Makes you wonder from the Pfizer files. Let's move on. Okie dokie, artichoke. Folks, we have all kinds of war coming. I talked about it this morning with the this psycho war that is being waged against all of us. Psychological warfare extraordinaire. One of the ways that they're winning this is because we are not talking back. You and I talk back, we get silenced, we get censored, we get canceled, we get punished. Well, we still need to fight back in every way possible. I've got this interesting story here. It's about a physician. Actually, it's a physician's assistant, a PA. Got fired, folks, for talking about cerveza bug. No. For putting down the Jim Jones juice. No, that's not why this person was fired. This physician's assistant was fired for doing her job. What was her job? Well, she filled out adverse reactions on the VAERS system, VAERS. She was fired because she was reporting adverse reactions to the Jim Jones juice. Right? Interesting. So the question I have is, how many doctors, how many physician's assistants, how many nurse practitioners have refused to make honest medical assessments of their patients for fear of being fired? See, they don't get money for filling out forms with VAERS. They do get paid money for handing out prescriptions. And they get kickbacks, folks, for recommending pharmaceutical solutions to pharmaceutical grade problems. Oh, yeah, this explains it excellent. How all of us know people who have been injured and even died from the Jim Jones juice. Oh, that's just, no, we can't report that. You don't want to report that. And if you wonder how much pharmaceutical money is influencing the world, turn on your TV anytime between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. and watch commercials on regular commercial television. And you'll find out who is buying politicians because they're buying airtime. Absolute bullshit we're getting from the powers that be. Oh, yes, it's all there. So this is the Prepared Mind channel. It is the Monday through Friday show where I do my monologue and then you follow up as Inner Circle members and you bring on your questions. They can be put on screen. We can make you famous. But in any event, you will be helping others ask the same questions so that they can hear it. Not from me, not from you, but for themselves, right? Interesting. Now, this whole President Trump thing is continuing. It's continuing. Now he was going to be arrested, then not arrested. Now they're going to arrest him again. They're telling him he needs to turn himself in for arraignment. And yes, he may even be put in handcuffs. Well, everyone's weighing in on this, right? Democrats, Republicans, and also comedians. Chris Rock, folks, told the crowd something very interesting. Now, Chris Rock, didn't he get slapped by Will Smith like a little bitch? I thought that was quite cute. I still think it was just a fucking publicity stunt. Anyways, folks, Chris Rock is a comedian. He's done a lot of great work. My favorite work from Chris Rock, if you go on YouTube and search this, you'll get something that no longer is being said. And it's his piece was how to not get your ass kicked by the police. Anyways, folks, satire is closely linked to humor. And humor contains elements of truth. And that's what makes it so interesting or humorous to us. So, Chris Rock, like him or not, used this truth to make a serious point for all of us. And then who else was in comedy? Used truths and facts to create humorous thoughts and concepts. Oh, well, it was George Carlin. And here we love to quote him greatly as the guy who came up with the people that run the world, that's a big club and you ain't in it. That was George Carlin. And we're all finding out, no matter how important you think you are, you're not in that club. No, no, no. So Chris Rock basically taunted his audience at the Kennedy Center. He said, "Are you guys really going to arrest Trump? Do you know this is only going to make him more popular?" Now, there was big laughter. Chris Rock continued, "It's like arresting Tupac. He's just going to sell more records." And then he asked, "Are you stupid?" Well, the answer is, are you stupid? Yes. You see, Democrats think that arresting Trump is going to solve all their problems, that his popularity will decline, that make America great again, America first, patriots are just going to go away and sulk if that were to happen. Now, the truth of the matter is Trump will become more popular. I agree with Chris Rock, right? There's this push for a showdown, a smackdown, a bitch fight between Trump and DeSantis just doesn't need to happen. You see, what they want, the powers that be, that is they want Trump and DeSantis fighting. They want to see the Republican Party torn apart, torn to pieces. And I think DeSantis is the wiser for staying out of it, right? It's just, it doesn't benefit him. And Trump knows how to play the camera, play the audience, play the news headlines, and play the game, right? The more exposure he gets, the more powerful he gets. The bigger the threats against him are, the more he will be supported. I try and honestly criticize and look at what's going on and talk about it. Not to put down Trump, not to put people down, but to examine the situation. Right? I'm never going to meet Trump. I'd be shocked if I ever got to meet Trump. I'd be shocked if I ever got to meet Al Gore. Right? That's not going to happen either. So, what I have to say doesn't really matter for anything other than thinking about it, considering it. So when I talk about Trump and criticize him, it's not to put him down. I don't know if I could do any better in the same circumstance that he has been in. But what I can say is, we can analyze things. We can look at it. Criticize, sure. I think we need to be critical of all things. And for most of us, we're extremely critical of ourselves already. So if someone were to say, man, you're so hard on Trump, you ought to hear the things I say about myself when I just, really start thinking about what is going on, my life, my world. But folks, I think Chris Rock is right. Go ahead and arrest Trump. You will only make him more wealthy, more powerful, and a better candidate for presidency. I mean, as the Democrats look, that they know. We know that they know that Biden knows he is guilty of everything he's accused of, right? From being a pedo sniffer to a pedo Hitler to hiding behind the skirts of Hunter and his wife, the good doctor, that he's using Hunter to run all these shady deals, right? The Biden crime syndicate. He knows, we know, everyone knows, and it doesn't make him more popular. It may scare people into being respectful out of fear, but that's about it. Now, let us continue with this Trump thing, because it's huge. If you've got questions about Trump or any other subject, get them down below. Right? But let's continue with the Trump. Republican Senator Rand Paul, Dr. Rand Paul, right? He's calling for the district attorney, Alvin Bragg, from Manhattan to be jailed. He wants him thrown in jail. Not Trump. He wants the district attorney thrown in jail. And he says this is his quote, folks. A Trump indictment would be a disgusting abuse of power. But is it a criminal abuse of power? Well, really, the reason I wanted to read this headline is that Senator Rand Paul is rather a delicate little flower compared to a lot of tough guys out there. He's not a huge muscle-bound tough guy. He doesn't look like he's gotten into a fight with, a 7-foot-tall centipede that's, a punching expert. Like, I don't know, like Senator Fetterman's face. No, Rand Paul is kind of a gentle guy, but he's stepping up. He's saying some awful things. Why? Because a political war is coming. And he just made my point. The point is that we've got huge problems coming, folks. Huge problems. Let me see if I can describe it a little differently. Tucker Carlson of Fox News has also blown his top over the potential Trump arrest. And he is issuing a dire warning, a serious warning. Right? He says, quote, if the Democratic Party is allowed to crush Donald Trump, we're done. Right? Now, accurate, true, or not, folks, America needs to hear where we are at in this SHTF scenario. Right? You have Rand Paul saying this is just a disgusting abuse of power. So bad that he thinks it's criminal and that the district attorney should be arrested for knowingly violating someone else's rights and abusing their power. I agree. I think he should be held accountable because he knows what he's doing. And I think any Democrat who tries to pass anti-free speech or anti-Second Amendment laws or anti-Fourth or Fifth Amendment for that matter, they pass those laws, they know they're violating the Constitution, they should be held accountable, and they should go to jail as well. You shouldn't be allowed to legislatively violate the people's rights and get away with it. So let's check in with Tucker. He, at the very least, folks, unlike me, I'm not allowed to anymore. I'm not allowed to speak to the whole world, all of America. No, they keep us bottled down, closed in, silenced, pushed over in the corner, and marginalized. But Tucker's speaking to millions of people a day. Good. At least he's saying something critical of what the hell is happening on the planet. He says, if the Democratic Party is allowed to crush Donald Trump, we're done. Accurate, true, or not, America needs to hear where we are at. Politics, folks, in my opinion, are now so toxic, so low, and now mainstream politicians and mainstream media are throwing around death threats and promises of imprisonment for opposing socialist ideas and woke agendas. That's where we're at, folks. That's where, if we were in the 30s, you could hear Hitler screaming in the background. The way the politicians who are in power are using their power to silence others. Same thing happened in Nazi Germany, folks. You think there was just one party, the Nazi party in power for decades and decades? No, there were other German political parties. And the Nazis came in, got into Congress or the Reichstag, moved their way up, got Hitler into the chancellor position or president, if you will. And then they dissolved their Congress, the Reichstag, after the fire. And then you had the Führer, the Hitler, the boss. Folks, we're in big trouble. We've got a political war coming. Now, this can end, this political war, by the left being corrected by the people, well, through our election process. Fat chance, right? Just check that election record for the likelihood of us being able to vote Americans back into seats of power. The other way this can end, folks, is less pleasant and is inevitable in my estimation. The leftist socialist scum are increasingly violent and increasingly using incendiary language and threats of physical violence, threats of imprisonment, threats even of torture. Right. Now followed with socio-political persecution and silencing, canceling of opponents, coupled with death threats. Yeah, folks, it's all going to end peacefully, just like 2020's Summer of Love, right? This is where we're at. Rand Paul saying that guy needs to be arrested. You know, Chris Rock saying you're just going to make that guy more popular if you arrest him. Tucker Carlson saying, you know, we're done. We meaning the Republican Party? No. We meaning the Patriots to make America great again? No. What Tucker Carlson was saying is when he said if the Democrat Party can destroy Donald Trump, we're done. It's going to come down to we're done playing nice. And it's not, when he says we, he doesn't mean we Republicans. He means we as a country. Everyone is going to go off the hook. Everyone is going to get very, very loud. Everyone, folks, is going to start looking around with a whole lot more suspicion. A whole lot more suspicion. We've got socio warfare. We've got economic warfare. We've got psychological warfare. We've got lawfare, folks, using the law to punish your enemies. So Hunter Biden's attorneys are threatening lawsuits against Roger Stone because he discussed the contents of Hunter's laptop. So privacy rights exist in America? I thought we didn't have any expectation of privacy once information made its way into the public arena, right? Well, no, you know, maybe Hunter doesn't want people talking about his shit. Well, it's funny if one of us says something and someone doesn't like it, then left-wing scumbags out there do everything they can to expose, dox, and trash people. So privacy rights, do they exist or not? I think that's a fair question. Well, how about, well, it's not like someone went through Hunter Biden's garbage. He abandoned a valuable piece of property, his laptop, abandoned it Does he have a right to privacy over property he abandoned publicly? Now, if I took my pickup truck and I drove it down the street and I thought, fuck it, I'm getting out and walking, and I abandoned it. After a few days, it's abandoned property. Would I expect my name, any information left behind in the vehicle, would that remain private? Or would it be used to find out who I am, where I was at, right? It's incredible. Everything is warfare now, folks. Everything. Everything. And it's not just the United States of America. No sirree, Bob. So in France, folks, here's the shout. C'est la guerre. It's war. That's right, folks. The president of France, Emmanuel Macron, right? And Born, I guess that's the vice president of France. I don't even give a shit. But they're claiming victory, folks. Victory over pension reform. Well, that's right. This dictator, Emmanuel Macron, is celebrating his tyranny over the French people. Now, it's not that there can't be pension reform in France. It's just it was done without an act of Congress, their parliament. He just decided as Le Führer to do what he wants, right? He is now a dictator. And it is war, folks. Roadblocks, fuel shortages, turmoil, social chaos. It's building again, folks. It's building again. The French are actually doing pretty well, right? It's screaming and yelling. This is it's quite incredible. Fuck. I mean, do I want to bring this up? Eric Greitens wants to talk about George Soros. That's right, folks. George Soros, the guy who is funding district attorneys around the country. I wonder if he funded the jackass in Manhattan. I wonder. I don't have to wonder too long to get the answer I want. Now, Eric Greitens was the former governor of Missouri, by the way. And he says from personal experience, he knows how far George Soros's prosecutors will go to carry out political assassinations. Isn't that interesting? If you think about it, right, this attack on Trump using their version of a jury of his peers. This is a political assassination or an attempted political assassination. Right? They went after Eric Greitens, right? Eric Greitens said, after I stopped riots and stopped political insiders from stealing taxpayer money, a Soros-funded prosecutor came after me. He says she hired a corrupt former FBI agent. Wait a moment. Don't we know of a corrupt former FBI agent that tried to extort $25 million out of Representative Matt Gaetz in Florida? I think I'm seeing a fucking pattern here between this former agent, that former agent, and current agents like Peter Strzok and Ruby Rod Rosenstein and Chris Wray of the FBI and how many others, folks. So Eric Gritz says this prosecutor who is Soros funded hired this agent who was later charged with 7 felonies for perjury and evidence tampering. Lied to the media, to the judges, lied to a grand jury. That's perjury, folks. False charges were finally dismissed. The prosecutor found herself or was found to have lied over 70 times. Sanctioned and fined by the Supreme Court. Why was all of this done? Political assassination, folks. I told you and I've warned you and we've discussed how these Democrats out here will do and say anything, and they'll even risk going to jail to have their agenda succeed, no matter what their agenda is, whether it's stealing an election, whether it's going after someone physically and physically assaulting and attacking them, or political persecution, or prosecutorial assassination. They don't care. They'll do anything it takes and risk going to jail. Are you telling me, right, that this isn't a serious war that's being fought? You and I think, regular Joe Americans, those silly dummies, they'll learn their lesson. No, they're not. That's why we're in this situation, is because those silly people, they know exactly what they're doing. They're willing to take that risk for the victory, folks, to destroy America and create a socialist super state of America. Right? Other people who have been attacked, well, Roger Stone, Dr. Atlas, Peter Navarro, who stood up and bitch slapped, euphemistically speaking, Dr. Fauci and shouted him down. How about General Flynn? Those are some high-level people. How about Michael Bannon? Have I said enough? Have I named enough big names? If they're willing to go after them, and now Trump, what makes you think that you or I or anyone we know can sustain an extended or even a short battle with these people? The justice system is weaponized. The mainstream media is weaponized. Right? Yeah. We named the names, folks. And these people, they went after who? An attorney, actually a husband and wife attorney team. That's right, the McClotskys, the cul-de-sac commandos. They were attacked by that left-wing Soros-backed bitch out of St. Louis. Oh, yeah. They will come after us. What about the Constitution? What about the First Amendment? What about the Second Amendment? What about the Fourth and Fifth? What about the all of these rights that we have? How come they just seem to get steamrolled and pushed aside and just ignored? Because the people that are fighting this war against you and me and the whole country out there, they don't care about the law. They don't care about justice. They care about their agenda. And they're not going to go away. They're not going to go away. Now, I want to really try and piss them off. There was a pretty famous black guy once. He was assassinated, but his name was Martin Luther King, right? He pointed out and he said this: injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Right? There you go. There's a nice one. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So if Trump is being threatened unjustly, then everywhere we are at risk. You are not safe anywhere in this country, folks. Even if you're lucky enough to live in Texas or Florida, nope, you are not. Right? If a politicized prosecutor decided to come after you or your family, how badly could they damage and destroy you with legal fees? How long could you last against these people? It's incredible. How about this? Former governor of Virginia, Bob McDonnell, was attacked. He was found innocent by the Supreme Court of the United States 9-0, but he was prosecuted, threatened with prison, right? And he had $20 million in debt over the whole issue. Now, I want to end this little bit, and then we'll go into your questions with a quote from Lavrentiy Beria, who is the head of communist Russia, communist socialist Russia's Joseph Stalin. His secret police leader was Lavrentiy Beria. And this is his quote: "Show me the man and I'll show you the crime. Show me the man and I'll show you the crime." In other words, give me a dude. I'll pin a crime on him. Whatever he's noted for, right? I'll make sure that that turns into a crime somehow. Right? Soros. Do you think George Soros gives a fuck about the law? Or do you think he's using the law and using the system? That's exactly what he's doing. He's using political support to put into office the most radical screwball anti-American scum. And he knows it. And they are acting out. They're willing to go to jail because I'm sure they know that if they go to jail while committing their acts of, shall we say, partisan destruction, I'm sure they get a bonus. I'm sure they get a big, fat George Soros bonus. Paris is burning. Paris is burning. All right, folks, let's do this. Let's roll into the inner circle. Ask John Live. Thank you again, Mr. T, for that. I hope you're doing well out there. Let's do it. We got Charles Gentry, and he says, question for John. True or false? Enslavement only happens after some form of defeat. Well, I think I'll answer that. I don't know if we got a two-part. We got some one-parters, some two-parters. Anyways, step on up, folks. Bring me your questions, your comments, your thoughts. Tell me what's on your mind. So let's address Charles Gentry's question. True or false? Enslavement only happens after some form of defeat. I'm going to say true. Now, if you're engaged in a physical battle, swords, guns, rocks, and sticks, if you're physically defeated in that and not killed, then you can be enslaved. But are there other types of defeat that can equally lead to enslavement? Well, yes. Financial slavery doesn't require a collar on your neck or manacles and chains on your hands and wrists. Right? You can be financially enslaved. You can be made to go broke. You can become a debtor. Right? You're in debt to the point where you have to work and do as you're told to pay the bill, to pay the debt. You can be a debt slave. The other way that you can be defeated, right? We talked about militarily and financially. How about this? Psychologically defeated. If you give up, if you think that just because they've got this money and they've got this power that they've won, then you're already defeated. It's just a matter of time before they show up and knock on your door. Yep. Now, some form of defeat. How about being fooled or lied to? Is that a form of defeat? Yes, your intellect has been defeated. Your intelligence has been defeated. For example, Dr. Fauci goes on TV and he says, you need the Jim Jones juice. And so, like a fool, you go get it. And then he says, well, you've taken it once, you need it twice. And you take it again. And your immune system is now compromised. You now rely on their medications, right? And you are slave to them. You're a medical slave to these people, needing their drugs, their concoctions, in order for you to feel safe and for your health to persist. These people are continuing to go out and get booster after booster, folks, in an effort, in a hope and a prayer that eventually they're going to work. Oof, I would hate to be in that situation, folks. I really would. I really would. That is a seat I do not want to sit in. And speaking of seats that people don't want to sit in, we know Marie Antoinette and her her quote, let them eat cake. Well, I say to the people in this story, let them eat shit. Well, Hillary and Chelsea Clinton went to Broadway. They wanted to watch a show. And somebody, folks, when the lights were low while they watched some fucking Broadway production, someone shit in the aisle next to them. I think that's fucking hilarious. They got the cheap seats, folks. Fucking hilarious. All right. Anyways, thank you, Charles. I hope I answered the question in a way that was thought-provoking. And that's really the idea of the prepared mind, is to provoke thought. So get your thoughts, your questions in. Remember, anything you ask and talk about is going to have a residual effect that goes downstream. You help one person think a little differently, to see things from a different perspective. And now their mind has been influenced in a way that causes them to think for themselves. And in turn, they're going to talk to numerous amounts of people. And maybe they'll talk to 2, 3, or 4 people, and it sinks in. Folks, credible people, right? Intelligent people out there don't know what's going on. And once they learn what's going on, if they are credible or knowledgeable, then they're going to share with other people, and the word spreads. That's why so many Americans know what we know. Even though you could tune into the mainstream media for a whole year and not get half the news content and value that you get in this show per episode. I'm willing to put that up to some fact checker. Because all you get on mainstream media is a bunch of propaganda and horse shit. All right, Uman, let's do this. Let's roll with this. This is Uman. He says, Trump headlines are the shiny orange object that has taken the eyes off of the banking crisis. We all need to be looking at what's not in the headlines today. That was in the last weeks and months. I'll tell you what, Uman has a hell of a point here. Let me address it. On Fox News, I believe it's Charles Payne. He is someone I've noted and watched for years and years, not on a regular basis because it's Fox. But Charles Payne, he's this really big, giant black dude. And he used to tell a story about being, I believe, a nerdy type of kid and carrying a briefcase to school. Right? He didn't have a lunchbox, he had a briefcase. He wanted to be in business. And the guy's just a self-made success story. He was on Fox News today, Uman, talking about the seriousness of the situation we're in and how it's not fixed and how we've got big problems right in front of us. But squirrel, Trump over there. I get it. I do get it, Uman. I know what's going on, right? We all do. It's just what's more interesting, what's more entertaining. You know, so I've brought up Trump and I've talked about it. And I've also talked about all these other politicians. I've talked about the political persecutions. We've talked about how, well, even comedy is addressing the situation. And then we're looking at this, the banking crisis. It is still there. I looked at the stock market and it's up and it's up and it's up again. On what news? It was incredible. I was like, what? Somebody out there is buying up a bunch of government bonds. Despite all the bad news, the dire warnings, the predictions, the countless intelligent students of economics who are going, this is bad, really bad. This is like a 10-way bypass surgery on a heart that looks like it's going to fall apart and, to 1,000 pieces. And they're like, oh, everything's great. Let's invest in U.S. treasuries. Who could be buying? Who has the cash and money to be buying government treasuries? Basically loaning the United States of America, the government, who is in the position to loan them trillions of dollars? One answer. The Federal Reserve, through shell corporations in the Cayman Islands. Do your homework, folks. You just might discover that all of these treasuries aren't being bought by Russia for certain, not even China. No, not anymore. Europe has no money to invest. Neither do the European Central Bank and other central banks and private banks. Why the hell would they invest in a government treasury that is guaranteeing 3% to 4% in a 10% inflation environment, right? Why would you guarantee yourself a 6% loss? Right? It is, there's a great way to put it, right? It's return free. It's just, it's awful. I don't even know if I want to make the joke, right? A lot of times you say, you know, risk free. It's risk free out there. Guaranteed return. Right? There's no return coming. It's going to be a loss. It's going to be, so who is buying them? The Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is now buying through shell corporations in the Cayman Islands, United States treasuries. So everyone's like, look, someone's buying it. And they pretend like they don't know who it is. Who can print money? The Fed, right? Chief Goon Powell. No surprise, unless you've never heard that. Right? Japan, folks, the Bank of Japan, the BOJ. The BOJ has been buying Japanese bonds and holding Japanese up for decades now, since the early 90s. The Japanese central bank now owns, I believe, 88% of the country's businesses and Japan's debt. It's crazy. It's absolutely stunning. It's absolutely crazy. Well, let's just keep having some fun. But before I get another question from you guys, let's do this. Oh, how about that? Shocking, folks. Yet again, I'm no expert, but a 21-year-old super athlete has died. Well, within days of his cancer diagnosis, this 21-year-old just died suddenly. Now, what's amazing here is I'm no expert. No, I'm not. I'm not a medical expert. I don't even play a doctor on television. But his oncologist, meaning a cancer doctor, believes that this cricket player, a 21-year-old super athlete, it was Jim Jones juice related, the way it all went down. I'm no expert, but this doctor, who is an expert in cancer, really thinks the Jim Jones juice played a big role in it. What business does a 21-year-old super athlete have dying of cancer days after being diagnosed with it? I mean, I've heard of some aggressive cancer, folks, but it's hard for me to go, well, you know, this person, they weren't feeling good. They went to the doctor. They said, hey, you got cancer. And then on the way out of the office, you fall flat on your fucking face and die. Unbelievable, folks. Except, believe it, it's real. Okay. Oh, man, let us continue with some more fun. Who else do we have? Who has a question? Who has a thought? Oh, it's Charles Gentry again. And he has something. He says, this is what his father said. He said, always stand for something. You may not know where you are headed, but you will know where you stand. I find that rather interesting. And the other thing I might add to that, if I may, Charles, is stand for what's right or don't stand at all. We're coming to that point in America. Now, when I first read that, it was a quote off of a sign. It was a sign that a black man was holding on the sidewalk in the Florin area down in Sacramento. He was outside Florin Mall, standing on the sidewalk as cars drove by, holding a sign that said, stand for what's right or don't stand at all. He was wearing cowboy boots, a cowboy hat, and a pink polo shirt and blue jeans, if my memory serves me correct. And I think I've told this story a few times. But what was going on were the Rodney King riots down in LA. And he didn't think that was worth, you know, that rioting was the right thing to do. You have to stand for what's right. Well, I have no idea who that guy was or where he's at today. I hope he's doing well. But you always have to stand for something. And if you're going to stand, you should stand for what's right. You should stand for what's right. Now, seeing the enemy out there, the anti-American enemy. What have they decided to stand for? Well, they stand for something. They stand for political prosecution. They stand for prosecutorial assassination. They stand for media obliteration of people's reputations. They want to destroy you monetarily, financially. They want to destroy you legally. They want to destroy you socially. They want to destroy you in every way possible, professionally, personally, publicly, privately. People that want that, what are they standing for? Well, they're standing for evil and destruction. So Charles Gentry's father said, always stand for something. You may not know where you are headed, but you will know where you stand. And I say, if you're going to stand for what's right. These people out there, folks, have no compunction about doing what they think is necessary. They consider it a necessary evil in order to accomplish their goal, their agenda. What's funny is the system that they want to put in place has demonstrated and proven time and time again throughout history, folks, for the last, well, let's just use socialism and stick with that. For the last 100 years, it has demonstrated itself to be abusive and violent in its overthrow of a legitimate government. And then when empowered and has all functions of the state at its disposal, it becomes murderous to the tune of 100 million people being killed by 3 countries alone that were socialist. The Nazis were responsible for about 10 million. And then the Chinese and Russian communist socialists, about 90 million of their own people. Know where you're standing. Stand up and look around. Are you standing on the correct side? Are you on the right side of history? Are you on the right side of a fight? Now, a lot of times, folks, you may realize that you're standing up for a fight and you're standing on the losing side, meaning you're going to get your ass kicked. Do you stop standing for what's right? Do you change sides? That way you're with the winners. That way you don't get destroyed. A lot of people will do that. I myself cannot. That's called selling out. That's called selling out. Are you going to sell out so that you can be with who you think are the winners? But they're not winners. Right? Those who are not standing for what's right, they're standing with evil, folks. They've got to live with that. That's their problem. They get to deal with it. All right. Thank you, Charles, very, very much. It's a great topic. It's about morality, decency, and being intellectually honest with yourself. Now, someone who is completely dishonest, I want to talk about them. Now, I told you yesterday about Dr. Doom, little dumbass Fauci, right? By a standard run-of-the-mill American on the street who argued with him, debated with him, and said, I'm not going to do what you say. I'm not going to get the Jim Jones juice. Well, and I talked about this morning. Dr. Fauci has blamed the Republicans who disagree with his Jim Jones juice program. He says he's going to break their will. The reason I think this is so important is because he knows where he stands, and he knows what he's standing for, and he knows what this is supposed to do. Understand Fauci's intent. His intent is to destroy lives and bring about a totalitarian medical state on top of a totalitarian police state. That's what their intent is. Understand their intent. These socialists don't just want to have political power so they can participate in, well, stately dinners that taxpayers afford for them. They don't just do this so they can attend award ceremonies and dress in tuxedos and lavish sequined gowns. No, they're in this to win it, folks. And when they win, they will destroy. And when socialists take control, as I just stated a few minutes ago, when they have the power of the state and all its mechanisms, they use those mechanisms fully. Their intent, folks, is destroy America and destroy you and your will. Fauci says he's going to break our will. I say, bring it on, you midget. See what you can do to me. Try it. Try me. You folks and I are becoming galvanized. We're becoming tempered, hardened pieces of steel from being bashed about. You've seen it 100 times, right? A piece of molten steel being smashed on an anvil, hammered. It's getting harder and harder and harder. It's being tempered, right? That's what we're in. We're in the crucible of truth and fact, and we're being tempered so that we can stand our ground and stand up for who we are and what is right. Oh man, who do we want to put up next? Who do we have? And it is Mikey G. And he says, gun control is not about your safety or crime reduction. It's about control, total control. Now, earlier today, Mr. Skylight sent me a meme, a very important meme. And what this meme demonstrated or showed, it showed a meat grinder. Now, a meat grinder, you take, say, a steak, a pork steak, a beef steak, it doesn't matter. And you put it in the top of the meat grinder and you turn the handle, and out the bottom comes, shredded meat, and you put it in sausage. That's how you make your sausage or hamburger. But this picture was quite interesting. It showed a pistol and a high-capacity magazine being shoved in a meat grinder while the guy turned the crank. And out the bottom came chains. The steel of the gun, when taken from us, will be turned into chains that will be used to control us. That is what this is all about. You cannot be controlled if you're free. And one of the tools of freedom is the Second Amendment. One of the tools of freedom is the First Amendment. If you're not willing to use the First Amendment, what makes you think you're willing to use the Second? You need to stand for what's right now. You need to check your intellect, check your moral compass, check who you are. Look at these people and what they're doing. Yes, there is financial chicanery, and we're being screwed to death and robbed blind in broad daylight by these bankers, while they keep us distracted with the death and destruction of our political, social, legal systems. They're prosecuting a man for what? Well, I think it was, was it $250,000 that Trump supposedly paid Stormy Daniels, the porn whore? About $250, or give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. It's somewhere in there, somewhere around $250. Thank you, man. I believe Bill Clinton paid to Paula Jones $850,000 to shut the fuck up. Hush money. He should be arrested 3 times more, shouldn't he? But he wasn't. Everyone just thought, well, okay, they paid Paula Jones a bunch of money and she shut up about everything. Here we are, right? That's the room we're in now. Oh, shoot. Heidi says $130,000. Okay, thanks, Heidi. Apparently, if your name is Stormy Daniels, I don't even know how to explain why 20 years or 25 years later, she's worth, 1/6 of what Paula Jones was worth. I guess she's been rode hard and put away wet just a few too many 100 times. Oh, I got man, Sadlinga, yeah. That truck has been used, and yeah, I think its rear end is a little loose. Needs to go to the shop and get it tightened up. Okay, there we are. There you have it. Man, do we have more? Do we have another super chat? Not a super chat. Another question. I think we do. Another topic. And Charlene does have a chat. She says, books on my coffee table include, quote, The Book of Totally Useless Information, And she says, it's funny how some useless info to someone is useful to others. How to address this? This is an interesting comment. A lot of people think that this noggin right here is just chock full of useless crap. And to someone who would have the hard drive, right, the space to store all the info is one thing, but to be able to extract it and then apply it in the proper time, in the proper place, in the proper circumstances, totally useless information can become very, very valuable. For example, if you were to take a caveman, a big, dumb, blonde Neanderthal, and you set him in front of his enemy, right, a dozen other cavemen out there, and you handed him an AR-15 and a fully loaded magazine, and then you stepped back, the other 10 or 12 cavemen would just maul and kill that big, dumb Neanderthal because he doesn't know what he's got. To him, it's a useless item that was handed to him, an AR-15 and a magazine full of ammo. But if you know how to use the information, it goes from being something very useless to something very practical and can be utilized for safety. So you take that same situation, you have 12 cavemen out there, and instead of a Neanderthal, you've got a United States Marine. And you hand him an AR-15 or an M16, if you will, and a magazine full, right? He'll put it in there, and he'll put a round in battery, and those other cavemen will find themselves perforated, not really feeling good. You see, so what is useless to one becomes a powerful tool to others. The prepared mind is an incredibly powerful tool. So I'm glad your coffee table has the book of totally useless information, because I think it teaches a very important lesson. And there's something else here. There might be something here, and I wanted to share this with Uman at the end of the show. I do. This is interesting. The Mexican president, who is a socialist POS, he has criticized the American president, Biden, over the Nord Stream pipeline terror and sabotage. I found that kind of interesting because Biden, well, he's kind of a fascist socialist. He's in it for the money and the power. He's not into giving the people the power through communism. But I don't think the Mexican president is any better. It's interesting that I find that there's a war between these socialist factions, between these fascist factions. Now, in support of the idea that Trump is very powerful and belongs to another very powerful group who may or may not be interested in our best interests as American individuals, the Mexican president, who is a socialist, is defending Trump. But the Mexican president says that Trump and his arrest or potential arrest is an attempt to keep him off of the ballot in 2024. I understand, I guess, that, yeah, if they can prove that he's a criminal, then he's disqualified from running for president. I thought that there's basically nothing that could keep you from being on the ballot. I mean, we had a man named Barack Hussein Barry-Soetoro Obama, a cocaine snorting, lying piece of shit, who cannot prove that he was born in America, submitted a false, fraudulent, perjurious birth certificate, and he was still elected president. And Kamala Harris has attained the vice presidency, and her greatest political act was working on her knees under Willie Brown's desk, literally. That's pretty awful, don't you think? Yeah, so the Mexican president is weighing in on American politics. Those are some strange freaking bedfellows. I don't know what that means, folks, except the battle is way up high and we've got big, big problems. I hope you are totally prepared, folks, on this Too Crazy Tuesday. I hope you have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. I hope you've got a plan. I hope you understand that there's you, and then there's this 10-mile radius around you. You're in the middle of it. In that 10-mile radius, folks, that means everyone in there can make it to your place in one day. How many people can reach out and touch you in one day? So maybe a good idea. It may behoove you to learn who those people are, to know the resources. If something goes wrong, what is it in your 10-mile radius that could either cause people to come there or go away? Right? When shit hits the fan bad, big time, yeah, they're going to close the banks and there's a national problem, but you don't have 350 million Americans who want to come and bother you. Just those people in your 10-mile radius. They're the risk. Get to know them, folks, because chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. Godspeed. Semper Fi. And I'm going to talk to you very, very soon.